Ange was a princess without plot armor who was rejected by her people after she turned out to be a type of monster called a Norma. However, she didn't get depressed like Rudeus. Instead, like any sane person, she started a rebellion just to prove a point. Ange led the Ho-Oh Institute Iria team in a game against Floria Academy. Her teammate, Akiho, fell and they lost. Akiho said sorry, but Ange kept everyone positive. She was the typical overachiever. Ange felt bad because she hadn't met princess expectations. While leaving, they noticed police cars by a restaurant. A holographic mono light stop sign appeared, and guards set up shields. Julio reassured Ange that Riza's forces would handle it. A police officer created a mana barrier around a baby named Sarah. When he touched it, bolts of static electricity appeared. Sarah somehow broke the barrier, even though her mother wanted to hide the fact that she was a Norma. Sarah's mother cried and tried to take her daughter away from the police. When Ange suggested having another child who wasn't a Norma, Sarah's mother got so upset that she threw Sarah's milk bottle at Ange. Sarah was put in a glass cage and taken away in a police car while her mother was restrained by the police. At night, Emperor Jirai Mitsurugi worked on something in a dark room at the Dawn Pillar, unaware that Julio was watching from the shadows. It was Princess Ange's 16th birthday, and the day of her baptism ritual. The royal family headed to the Dawn Pillar for the ceremony. A glass-encased machine with a cross shape inside was activated. The whole family smiled as Princess Ange stepped inside the machine. Ange's mana light illuminated the Dawn Pillar, but suddenly the machine malfunctioned. Akiho heard a siren noise, which the police officer who took Sarah explained was a Norma alert. Emperor Jirai knew something was up. Julio confessed to his father that he disabled the disguise and laughed about it. Riza used her mana light to effectively hold the Emperor at gunpoint, while Julio revealed Ange's true identity as a Norma.
Ange Rize wa Norma だったのだ。それがアンジュリーゼの洗礼の儀だ。
Just as Julio finished speaking, Sophia managed to open the glass door to the machine and free Ange. Feeling insulted and still seeing herself as the first princess, Ange tried to pull a fast one. The police officer panicked and pulled the trigger. Sophia took a bullet meant for Ange and died in her arms, telling Ange that if she died, she'd kill her. The police officer formally arrested Ange and gave her a Norma labeling number. Julio casually requested a state funeral for his mother, while Jirai was arrested by the guards, and Holy Emperor Julio I took charge of the Empire of Mitsurugi. In the sky, Personal Transport 107 headed towards an island. Upon arrival, Ange was photographed for mugshots. A woman read her profile and informed Ange that she would now be enlisted as a soldier at Arzeno. The first woman started taking away Ange's belongings. Ange, feeling possessive and reminding them of her royal status, calling her a lowly officer. However, the second woman, who introduced herself as Arzeno Commander Jill, intervened. Jill began to free Ange from her handcuffs. Ange remained in denial about being a Norma, so Jill kicked her to the curb, literally. She told Ange that her 16 years of effort were for nothing and that her mother died in vain. Jill successfully took the ring from Ange in her moment of grief and challenged her to reclaim it using mana. When Ange failed to summon the powers of the Light of Mana, she welcomed Ange to hell and cut her dress down the center. Ripping it away, Jill forced Ange onto a table, and Emma used mana to shackle her. Jill then forcibly removed Ange's most holy garments, but not for plot-related reasons, and proceeded to conduct a violent cavity search, leaving Ange in shock and lying in default hero skin clothing with organic tomato juicings on her torn, stained dress. Ange began her first day as a Norma soldier. Jill put her in the first squadron led by Captain Zola, a fun-loving woman, and introduced Ange to the unit. Ange's supervisor was Celia, a quiet lieutenant and Zola's right-hand person. When Ange refused to wear a suit belonging to a pilot who owed Jesus a loan, Celia got annoyed and forcibly removed Ange's player starter pack outfit before pushing her outside. Feeling embarrassed with two other Normas seeing her in her natural unmodded form, Ange reluctantly agreed to wear the suit. Later, Ange underwent training in a para-male simulator. Initially confused, she eventually got the hang of it when she remembered her experiences in aerial lacrosse matches, which had similar controls to para-male. Of course, the COD player would excel in Fortnite. As time passed, Zola acknowledged Ange's progress in her training, and Celia provided Ange with supplies and a room to sleep in. In the canteen, Zola's companions reminded Ange that she was no longer royalty and urged her to embrace her identity as a Norma. Feeling uncomfortable, Ange left, with Coco following her. Coco confessed her feelings to Ange, expressing a desire to return to the Mitsurugi Empire, before offering her pudding as a gesture of friendship. Back in her room, Ange discarded Coco's pudding and instead wrote a petition requesting her release. Jill swiftly declined Ange's request for release. Dissatisfied, Zola dragged Ange to the interrogation room. There, she aggressively engaged in severe plot-related activities with Ange. Upset by this unwanted advance, Ange slapped Zola, causing her prosthetic eye to fall out. Their altercation was interrupted when the command alerted them that a singularity portal was about to open, and the first squadron was called into action. As they departed, Ange tried to escape. Celia pursued her, while Coco attempted to accompany Ange back to the Mitsurugi Empire. However, before they could make their escape, the portal opened, and a dragon fired a beam through Coco, killing her instantly. The horrific sight left Ange in horrifying shock. That's when she realized that she wasn't in Kansas anymore. Despite Coco's death, Ange remained determined to defect from the unit, even when Celia held her at gunpoint. However, their confrontation was interrupted when a brigade of dragons, consisting of 22 schooners and a galleon type, appeared. The squadron quickly switched their paramails into assault mode and engaged the horde. Amidst the chaos, Miranda mourned the loss of Coco, only to be consumed by the schooners, which further terrified Ange. As Zola prepared to strike the final blow against the galleon-type dragon, Ange accidentally collided with her, leading to both of them being caught in the ensuing explosion. Ange survived the crash, but Zola opted out of this thing called life. At the infirmary, Zola's unit blamed Ange, who was injured, for Zola's death. Jill decided to appoint Celia and Hilda as the new captain and lieutenant. She also broke the news to Ange that her request to go home was denied, and her family was no longer around. As punishment, Jill ordered Ange to carry the tombstones of their fallen comrades to the cemetery. This overwhelmed Ange emotionally, and she felt like she wanted to join Zola and her mom in their fun slumber party.
では殺してください。ダメだ。この子たちと同じく戦って死ね。それがお前の義務だ。
To help Ange cope with her despair and due to the shortage of paramail units, Jill assigned Ange to pilot a unique paramail that others considered ancient. The unit set out to hunt down their previous enemy, but the galleon-type dragon started chasing and attacking Ange. Despite initially feeling suicidal, Ange remembered her dying mother's wish for her to stay strong. This prompted her to awaken Vilcus assault mode and defeat the galleon type. At the Arzeno cemetery, Ange reflected on her family and decided to renounce her former life as Princess Ange by cutting her hair, vowing to do whatever it takes to survive. Later, Ange ate the pudding Coco offered her earlier, only to find out it was as rotten as Coco's body. I apologize for the humor darker than what Coco sees at the moment. After their successful mission, the squadron received their rewards, with Ange getting the most. This sparked jealousy among some members, particularly Hilda and her friends, who attempted to bully Ange but failed. They failed in retaliation after failing, dang. At Jasmine's mall, Ange purchased a new uniform, ignoring Jasmine's attempts to lecture her about how others perceived her. Later, while Ange ate alone in the canteen, Vivian tried to offer her a keychain, but Ange angrily rejected it. Meanwhile, Hilda bought Zola Axberg's former quarters and symbolically moved on by throwing away her artificial eyeball. She then headed to the hangar with intentions to do something with the Vilcus. During their sortie, the squadron stuck together in formation, but Ange suddenly charged ahead. Despite Vilcus malfunctioning, Ange managed to transform it into assault mode. However, a schooner attacked Ange, and they struggled on the sea until Ange's cockpit was flooded with water, causing her to lose consciousness. When Ange woke up later, she found herself tied up and in her natural unedited form on a bed, with an unknown cultured bad boy sleeping beside her. Upon waking up to find herself tied up naked next to a half-naked boy, Ange reacted with anger and attacked him while he tried to explain their situation. Meanwhile, back at Arzeno, Jill ordered Celia to lead a search and rescue mission to find Ange. Ange managed to break free and made her way to the shore where Vilcus was docked. There, she discovered that Hilda's heavenly armor of the Most High stuck in the engine was what caused Vilcus to malfunction. As the boy followed her, they continued to argue until Ange managed to tie him up. As rain started to fall, Ange sought shelter in the forest, but her relief was short-lived as she was bitten by a snake, causing her to fall into a free trial of death. The boy rescues Ange by sucking out the venom from her left leg and provides her with care in his hideout. As he tends to her, memories of his past resurface. He recalls grieving over the death of his parents when an injured Jill approached them, with the Vilcus in tow. Introducing himself as Tusk, the boy doesn't reveal much about his true identity. While on the island, Tusk looks after Ange and works on repairing the Vilcus, reflecting on his past experiences. As they spend time together, their peace is interrupted when a fleet carrying a brig-class dragon appears above them, and a schooner attacks from the sea. Ange fights off the schooner while Tusk focuses on repairing the Vilcus. Feeling hopeless, Ange's ring activates the Vilcus's powers, allowing her to shoot down the schooner before ultimately destroying it. At dawn, Ange finally introduces herself to Tusk as the rescue team arrives. Later, Tusk pays tribute to his fallen comrades before departing from the island in a para-mail. Momoka had snuck onto the transport that brought supplies to Arzeno, much to Ange's surprise when she arrived. She stuck to her like Tails sticks to Sonic in every game. The unit assigned Momoka to Ange's care during her stay there. While Momoka was thrilled to see Ange again, Ange felt distant and held resentment towards her because Momoka knew all along that Ange was a Norma but kept it a secret from her. Despite Ange's cold treatment and resentment, Momoka continued to assist her. While bathing together, Momoka expressed her unwavering dedication to serving Ange. Worried about Momoka's safety after she learned classified information about Arzeno and dragons, Ange insisted that Momoka leave. However, their time together was cut short when Ange was called to join an offensive mission. The following day, Momoka prepared to leave Arzeno. At the last moment, Ange brought her savings to buy Momoka's freedom. Jill agreed and cancelled Momoka's transport. Once again, Momoka was overjoyed to be able to stay by Ange's side. Ange's habit of fighting alone wasn't just causing chaos on the battlefield. They were also wreaking havoc on the team's chances of getting the green paper that Mr. Krabs would torque for, leading to frustration from Celia and the team. Celia suggested banning Ange from using Vilcus to resolve the issue, but Jill rejected the proposal. To cope with her stress, Celia found solace in cosplaying as a magical girl in a fitting room at Jasmine's mall while reading a novel. Meanwhile, Ange went shopping for clothes for Momoka. Due to a mix-up by Jasmine, Ange mistakenly entered the room Celia was using and discovered her unusual hobby, resulting in an awkward encounter that was more cringe-worthy than a filler episode. Later, at the bathhouse, Celia attempted to send Ange back to the game lobby to ensure her secret hobby remained hidden. Ange fought back, leading to a heated confrontation. Celia criticized Ange for her selfishness in refusing to cooperate with her teammates, while Ange accused Celia of failing to protect her from bullying. As a result of their altercation, both Celia and Ange were reprimanded, and Ange caught a cold from staying in the bath for too long. Celia encountered Jaume while the latter was repairing Vilcus. During their conversation, Jaume deduced that Ange's reluctance to see anyone die led her to shoulder all the danger while fighting dragons, which explained why she often acted alone. Some classic Batman vibes, trying to save everyone without sacrificing anyone. Surprised by this revelation, Celia checked her battle diary and discovered that there had been no casualties among her team since Ange began piloting Vilcus. Due to Ange's illness, the team embarked on the offensive without her. They encountered a massive bighorn-class dragon. Hilda, eager to eliminate the threat and collect the reward money, disregarded Celia's warnings and led Rosalie and Chris to approach the dragon. As a result, they all became immobilized by its gravity field, unable to move or fight back. When the situation appeared dire, Ange arrived piloting Vilcus. Following Celia's instructions, Ange destroyed the dragon's left horn and neutralized its gravity field. Allowing the team to break free and defeat the dragon. Back at the base, the team celebrated their victory like they'd just defeated the final boss in a JRPG and received their reward money, making Mr. Krabs and Kakuzu very proud. Celia resolved the internal conflicts among the members by acknowledging that everyone survived and triumphed thanks to Ange's actions. The girls reconciled with each other, although Hilda remained hostile towards Ange, before enjoying a relaxing time together in the bathhouse. The next day, Momoka intercepted an emergency Mana message from Sylvia, inquiring about Ange's whereabouts. However, before Ange could respond, Sylvia's distress was evident as she was forcibly taken away. Before the training began, Ange found herself reminiscing about her sister Sylvia, recalling moments when Sylvia pleaded for her help and the fond memories they shared, like hiding horses together and having fun. Lost in thought, Ange's slow loading screen and launching their aircraft frustrated Emma, prompting May to initiate an emergency launch without Ange's knowledge. They landed on the island to begin their training. At the island, a lively party was underway, a mermaid fiesta where everyone had fun in the water. It was a bikini-themed bash held on the beach. Celia explained to Ange that humans granted them just one day off each year, a break from all training until the following day. In another scene, Princess Misty Rosenblum paid a visit to Emma, mentioning that overseeing Arzeno was the duty of the Rosenblum family. The princess inquired about Ange, but Emma denied her presence, prompting the princess to request Emma's assistance in locating Ange, as she was eager to see her no matter what. As Emma searched for Ange, she unknowingly passed by her, as Ange was disguised in the Licky Lena costume. Suddenly, a part of the carousel broke off, causing the girl to fall. It triggered memories of Sylvia's own fall from a horse. Acting swiftly, caught the falling girl and handed her a balloon before she hit the ground like she was the hero of her own shoujo manga. Meanwhile, Momoka searched for Ange until she stumbled upon Hilda in a desolate area, alone and holding a gun to her forehead. Ange decided to visit the princess, still wearing the Licky Lena head. However, she removed the costume to reveal herself to the princess, who was taken aback by her sudden appearance. She had brought a knife with her and requested Misty's help in escaping. Ange, armed with guns and cash, made preparations for her escape and enlisted Misty's help. Meanwhile, Hilda escorted Momoka at gunpoint towards Misty's ship, intending to force Momoka to fly it since she had the ability to use mana. Just then, Ange arrived with Princess Misty in tow, leading to a standoff between Ange and Hilda over who would take control of the plane to escape. Hilda proposed a partnership with Ange, highlighting her inability to release the aircraft without triggering an alarm. As Ange and the others prepared for liftoff, Ange contemplated betraying Hilda and leaving her behind. However, Hilda demonstrated her determination. Prompting Ange to recognize the good within her and offer assistance, hoping to establish trust between them. Once the ship landed, they made their daring escape before they could be captured. Princess Misty remained behind disguised as Licky Lena, allowing Ange, Hilda, and Momoka to part ways and return to their respective homes. Hilda reminisced about a happy memory from her childhood, when she climbed a tree and her mom called her inside for some delicious apple pie. She savored the treat and basked in the joy of family warmth. However, her recollections took a somber turn as she recalled the day she was forcibly taken away. Her mom pleaded with the officers to spare her, but she was torn from her mother's arms and driven away, leaving her mother heartbroken and chasing after the vehicle. Now, in the present day, Hilda managed to escape and rocked a spy suit like a hot character straight out of a spy thriller as she made her way back home to her mother. Meanwhile, Ange and Momoka relaxed under a bridge, preparing to make their move under the cover of night. As Hilda arrived at the familiar trees of her childhood home, she couldn't resist taking a bite of one of the apples her mom used to use in her apple pie, reliving a piece of the comfort and love she had missed. At night, they made their move, rushing into the building. Momoka opened the doors while Ange led the way. Inside, they encountered Akiho, who was terrified when she saw Ange. Akiho tried to betray Ange, but Ange caught her. Ange told her she was just like everyone else and tied her up. However, Ange may not have tied her hands properly. They left quickly, riding on a fast hovering motorcycle. Ange and Hilda went back to their own homes, only to discover that their families had turned against them. Their families didn't want them anymore and blamed them for causing trouble. Their families even worked with the armed forces to try to catch them again. Ange faced a trial led by Giulio, and the townspeople decided she should be executed by hanging around, literally. Ange saw firsthand the cruelty of those with mana towards Normas like her. Remembering her mother's advice, she bravely walked towards the gallows, singing as she went.
私は死なない。諦めない。殺せるものなら殺してみろ。
However, just as she was about to be hanged, Tusk appeared and saved her, albeit in a clumsy manner. Together with Momoka, Ange, and Tusk escaped from the Empire. In their getaway, Ange managed to wound Julio's face with a thrown blade.
Sayonara, 腐った国の家畜ども!
As they journeyed towards Arzeno, Tusk revealed to Ange that Jill was aware of everything about the Vilcus and had specifically ordered that Ange must survive. Upon reaching Arzeno, Ange and Hilda found themselves detained. They shared their tales of suffering, recognizing the harshness of their own nations. In this shared pain, they formed a bond and vowed to dismantle the world's injustices once they were free. Ange began singing the same song she sang during her execution, and her powerful voice reached the ears of all the staff at Arzeno, echoing her determination for change. Sylvia, deeply troubled by the events surrounding Ange's execution, sought solace in Julio's room, the wrongest place ever. There, she was shocked to find Julio and Riza sharing an intimate moment. Julio referred to Riza as Mama and confided in her about Ange being an obstacle to their plans. Riza administered a strange liquid to Julio, which unsettled Sylvia. Suddenly, she perceived Riza as a monstrous creature with wings and a tail. As Sylvia grasped the truth, Riza, now revealed in her terrifying form, used her tail to choke Sylvia, who cried out for help. In a flashback, Jill, known as Electra at the time, returned to Arzeno injured, with her right arm severed. A young Celia and May discovered Jill's condition, and Celia swore to avenge her. However, Jill declined Celia's offer to pilot the Vilcus, as Celia lacked the means to operate the legendary para-male. Fast forward to now, Celia eagerly anticipated mastering the Vilcus. However, a singular portal unexpectedly materialized above Arzeno, unleashing a horde of schooner-type dragons that assailed the base. Among them, 3 para-males emerged, with a prominent red one leading the charge. This red para-male released a devastating beam, obliterating a significant portion of Arzeno and sending many to Jesus. Despite Jill's warnings, Celia disregarded caution and piloted the Vilcus into battle. Meanwhile, Jill ordered the release of Hilda and Ange. Ange assumed control of the Vilcus, engaging the mysterious red para-male in a fierce aerial duel. As the confrontation intensified, both pilots began to sing, and Ange's ring began to glow, activating the Vilcus's latent powers. Their clash reached a critical moment as Ange confronted the pilot, seemingly glimpsing their shared history and connection. Suddenly, the mysterious pilot departed, leaving Ange with cryptic words about the truth lying with the aura. The enemy forces, including the enigmatic para-males and the dragons, retreated. Celia, in the aftermath, made a startling discovery. Ange was the true pilot of the Vilcus. As Arzeno assessed the damage wrought by the invasion, Jill took stock of the situation while Vivian found solace in the comfort of her bed, unfazed by the destruction surrounding her. Amidst the chaos following the dragon's assault on Arzeno, global leaders convened to address the crisis. However, their discussions quickly devolved into heated arguments. Embryo, the big cheese among them, suggested a solution straight out of a sci-fi disaster movie: blow up the world and start over. Meanwhile, back at Arzeno, Hilda stepped up to lead in Celia's absence, as Celia had been roasting marshmallows in jail. Jill and Ange engaged in a conversation delving into the history of their world, exploring topics such as the origins of human mana abilities and the discrimination faced by Normas. Ange grew increasingly curious about the nature of the dragons, pressing Jill for answers. Before Jill could provide further explanation, a shocking discovery disrupted their conversation. A survivor from the dragon attack was found within the base. This revelation sparked new questions and uncertainties about the true nature of their adversaries. During a tense moment, the shocking truth about the dragons is unveiled. One of them is Vivian, who hums a familiar tune recognized by Ange. This revelation strikes Ange deeply, leading her to realize that the dragons are not monsters, but rather transformed humans. Ange's world is further shaken when she witnesses a group of dragons being ruthlessly burned. Prompting her to make a solemn vow, she refuses to kill any more dragons or pilot the Vilcus. Determined to stand by her newfound conviction, Ange prepares to turn away from her former life. But just when they thought they could catch their breath, guess who decided to crash the party? None other than Giulio, rocking up with his fleet like he owned the place. Looks like Ange and her crew were in for another wild ride. Thanks for watching this thrilling but tragic tale unfold. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to catch the next chapter of Ange's adventure. Until then, stay tuned for more exciting content. See you next time.